Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm back, you guys, with another video, and I'm excited about this one because this is more of a sit down and chat type of video, and I'm gonna give you guys 7 things that I am learning and have learned on this singleness journey. So if you'd like to see more of this video, just keep watching. Okay guys, so 7 things that I have learned and I am learning in this singleness journey. Number 1, I am so much closer to God than if I were in necessarily a wrong relationship. And I feel as though when we focus so much on finding love and finding a relationship that we oftentimes forget about ourselves. And so if that's your situation or your story, like mine has been for so long, for so many years, trying to make relationships work, I really never put God at the forefront because I wasn't putting myself, you know what I'm saying? So I wasn't thinking of myself. I was always constantly thinking about how to make the relationship work. And so I realized in my singleness season, in this journey that I'm walking in, I've noticed that when I have my relationship with God is number 1. And I really feel as though in the singleness journey is for you to get close to God, is for you to build a relationship with Him so that He leads you to what is for you. So He leads you to knowing His truth and standing on a firm foundation for your life so that you're not easily deceived or tricked into the wrong relationship. So that's number 1 for me, getting closer to God. Number 2, it is sacrificial love. And by sacrificial love, I mean, what am I willing to give to God right now in this singleness? We are all a work in progress. So for instance, for me, it was rejection. It was, dealing with not being seen, and also just other things. It could go from spiritual, but also physical, emotional. We're all a work in progress. And so I feel like a lot of the things I've sacrificed to God, including a relationship, including my own desires, my own wants and needs, I gave all of that to God. And I said, Lord, you're better at this than I am. And I know at the right time, at your perfect time, you will bring me the man of my dreams, my spouse. And you have to, for God to move in your life, you have to be willing to give up certain things for His best. And that's always the best way to go. So that's number 2 for what I'm learning in my singleness journey. Number 3, friendships. Y'all, I don't know about you, but I've always had a hard time making friends. And whenever I did make friends, we would always have fallouts. We would always go our separate ways, or we just stop talking. And then there's friends that I do have that I grew up with that I do talk to, even though we're at a long distance. We do it's like we pick up where we left off. And so I noticed that community is so important in your singleness season. You cannot do this walk alone. God tells us in His word, He says, man should not be alone. And that's not just for marriage, but that's also for friendships and family and community. It's important, if you're single, to plug yourself into community. Having like-minded individuals who believe in what you believe in, who trust in God, and also who are leading you to be better and not worse, because it makes you feel a lot better. You wake up with more joy, and just having people in your corner, I really do believe that is to hold you accountable. I know I used to be in the party scene, and I used to want to go out all the time. And so it's good that we plug ourselves into community, also making friendships through community, that we are not walking this singleness journey alone. We are walking in it together. Also too, when it comes to friendships, you want to also pour into other people, because everything you're learning in your singleness journey, and you desire marriage, and that's God's promise for your life, that everything you're learning in your singleness is what you will take into a marriage. And so, we're not perfect, but we do get to learn and prepare before the things that are promised to us. Okay. Yeah. So number 4 is I'm not reliant no longer on relationships. I know that my trust, my strength, my everything comes from God and my relationship with God. And everything else flows from that. So he says, Matthew 6:33, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all of these things will be added unto you. So when we seek God and his righteousness, what makes God proud and happy, and what honors and glorifies him, that's where he works. And that's, he works through us in our obedience to him. And so I feel like when I finally started to realize and I got this down, I said, singleness is great. It feels amazing to wake up and know that I'm not alone and that God has great plans for my life, and that timing will come. When it does, I'll be ready. And so me being strong is reliant totally on God's strength. Number 5, I'm definitely learning so much more about myself. I'm learning that I am stronger than I think. One of my friends told me one time, you don't give yourself the credit. And even though it's not me, it's God, but they're like, you have beautiful gifts. And I think sometimes you can hide them away because you feel like you're outshining too much. And I'm like, I never said this out loud, but I agree. And so I think when you have gifts and you have a love for people, show that. Why not be completely widespread with it, and show others how much you love them, and be at joy and be this happy person that you are. Because when I was growing up, I suffered from chronic depression. And so this new version of me at this stage of my life feels amazing. And so that's just what he was trying to get at. He's like, be more of that. And so I'm definitely learning more about myself every single day. I push past my limits in the gym. I work out, I know that I can do it. And so I'm learning so much more about myself, and not having to rely on someone to tell me that, not seeking that validation, but knowing that God put that within me. Number 6, counterfeits, y'all. Say it for the people in the back. Counterfeits, dude, let me tell you, counterfeits. So there was a point where I was lonely, and I went on 1 or 2 dating apps. To be very honest, I went on 1 or 2 dating apps. And this has been throughout the span of 3 years of waiting. So again, I'm not perfect, but I wanted to see what was out there. I was still standing on the foundation of I'm waiting for my husband, but I wanted to also see what was out there. And so I remember God telling me, get off the apps. You don't need to be on the apps. And I know for some people, it has worked for them. They have met their spouse through there and it's worked out. For others, that may not be their story, and that was not my story, and it won't be my story. And so I did it anyways. I went on anyways just to see, and I just had this sense of, it just made me feel wrong just swiping and constantly judging somebody by how they looked and their bio, instead of really getting to know a person and their heart. And so I just kept getting these convictions, and I still went on it. And I actually went on a few dates. And even after those few dates, I just knew these guys were not for me. And the hardest part was having to have that conversation with them. And half the time they didn't understand either my faith, or they were just cool, I'm just gonna move on to the next person. And so it made me feel really bad. But I logged off, deleted the apps, and I said, I'm gonna wait, and I'm gonna be super keen about waiting and trusting God. And I have been doing that ever since. So you could relate to that. If that's you and you feel the same way, maybe it's good to get off the apps right now and just focus on God and enjoying your singleness. Work out, get into a hobby, and definitely learn more about yourself and what God has to say about you. Number 7. So number 7 is more about becoming a better me for the people around me. Change starts with us. Change begins when we open up and we want to receive that change and become the change, and actually do the work to become the change. And I say change, but I also mean growth. And so me growing as an individual, as a woman, as a sister, a friend, a daughter, everything that I'm learning now, it just takes me into God's future for my life, his plans for my life. And so, I'm becoming a better me to help people around me. And that's also stepping into your purpose, into your calling, into what God has for you. And I think once I put myself out of the equation and I said, okay, God, I want to do your work. I want to do more. and I want you to use me. And those words are not light. He takes that so serious to the point where everything starts to shrink around you. Things that are no longer serving a purpose in your life, because he wants to open new doors. And I started to realize when I moved from Texas to California that I had a big purpose in my life to help other women, help people in general. But my main focus was to help other women to get out of the things I once went through, out of toxic relationships, the things that I really experienced was my calling to help other people. So when we take ourselves out of the equation, we allow God to like really power us through into purpose. And sometimes purpose is so fulfilling. It's better than what we can ever imagine it, because you wake up knowing you're doing something you love, but most importantly, waking up knowing you have peace and joy and you're not living in misery or depression or all these things. And so, yeah, this is just the 7 things I've learned along the singleness journey. Again, this journey is not an easy walk, especially in the faith, but it is worth it. And everything you do is not unnoticed. Everything that we do and the things we pray and the things that we extend out towards others, those things are never unnoticed. Those things God sees, He hears, He loves them, and we receive in His perfect timing. He brings those things to pass when it's the right timing. And so everything I'm learning today that's building me up to be a woman, but most importantly, a friend and someone people can come to, it's definitely going to help me become a great wife one day and a mother. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy it, please give it a like. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you can see more of these videos, but most importantly, subscribe and check out my other videos. You may like them. I don't know. I'll talk to you guys soon.